Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to Johnnywood, the John Grimes Show. Talking the nitty gritty here from Music City. Yeehaw!
They say it ain't who you are, but who you know. Fake it till you make it go high when they go low. Standing out is gonna be a lonely road. So I'm following the one that's paved in rhinestones. Must be doing something right. I'm just gonna shine my light, 'cause I've never been one to do things by the book. Say the bleach went to my brain, say my dreams are so insane. Oh, but I'm just gonna do what Johnny would. Call me shady, I'll spill the tea. That's a compliment to me. Oh, but I'm just gonna do what Johnny would. Oh, I'm just gonna do what Johnny would.
Honey, now let's keep it real today, honey.
Oh my gosh.
This is probably one of the most vulnerable episodes I've done. By the way, this is Parker Bohn.
Hello.
We go back.
Very far.
When did you get married?
2016.
2016, 8 years ago, so at least that long, probably longer, but I actually got to do your hair for your wedding.
I know,
That
it was
fun.
so amazing.
Oh my God, I started doing this little thing on the podcast recently called Taking the Wig Off. It's kind of like a Wendy Williams, it's like,
Oh, I love it.
I don't know if you watched her documentary, but
Yes.
she was like, I just want to take the wig off and be vulnerable. And that's my hardest thing sometimes is, keeping up appearances. And I was just raised, sit up. I feel like right now, I hear my mom, sit up straight, shoulders out,
I hear it too.
suck it in.
You're not alone.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like this whole episode today is, it's one that's been on my list to do, but you encouraged me, because you recently kind of took the wig off.
Love it. I'm trying not to bump here.
You took the wig off, and you opened up about your weight loss journey lately, and also getting through some pregnancy stuff. And I thought, it's time for me to take the wig off, like Parker did.
I love it.
So you inspired me.
Aw,
So that's what the show's all about, is
Yeah.
inspiring others. We all have a different journey, and there's a million ways to get there. So today that we're talking about, specifically or whatever, the whole Ozempic, Mounjaro, all this, the weight loss phenomenon.
The shot, as I like
shot,
to call
the
it.
fat shot. We call it the fat shot. You started before me, and I think you even shared the love with the coupon.
I shared the coupon. We'll get there.
We'll get there. But I have been, so a little bit about me real quick. So I have been up and down with weight 10 years now, in a big, to me, a big way. I remember even going to Weight Watchers, support groups, probably in the early 2000s, even being I don't know if you call it skinny shamed or fat shamed, but
what is the
reverse?
reverse?
Because maybe I only
Just
had,
body
I was
shamed.
probably trying to lose 15 pounds, but took it very seriously. But I remember going in and being like, "What are you doing here?" And almost one more time I was being made fun of, or when I was really serious. But through the years, I remember the Metabolife.
Oh my gosh.
You got to think Anna Nicole for
Anna Nicole.
this trim spa.
Yep.
Oprah with that wagon.
Oh, yeah.
Going across the TV set, all this fat in it. But I feel like as much as religion or all these things in my life, weight.
It's right there.
Was a thing.
It's the same for me too. And it's funny because I remember the same things, and I remember it probably in a different light than you do, because I was a child when those things were kind of being advertised and pushed to the mainstream media. And Anna Nicole Smith, for example, this is probably why I have so many issues. But when I was growing up, I loved her, and she was really my gateway into reality television. And so I got into her show. I loved her. I was hearing all about, you know, the products that she was pushing. And for me, it's like seeing her journey with weight in the media and people, you know, seeing her as a beautiful human being. I loved her. I thought she was gorgeous. She was beautiful. I loved her energy, her fun. And then seeing the media criticizing her, so she starts pushing these, you know, metabolism pills. It's confusing for a child. And so I grew up in a similar where this is the person that I'm looking up to Anna Nicole Smith. I don't know what that says about me. Probably why I'm in therapy now, but
she was honest. I feel like
she really was. And so seeing that really messed with me as a child growing up, and I see it to this day. So I 100% know what you're talking about.
I remember being thin, you know, made fun of for being thin, but still felt like I had this like little pooch of a stomach, you know, even. I think that's just my genetic, you know, everybody has different body shapes, styles, but it was like I was either too thin, and then overnight, you know, you wake up, I don't know if I was like in my 30s, and then it's like, oh, now it's like, I wish, finally, now I know enough about self-acceptance. I wish I had loved myself where I was at. Then I was always so hard on myself. But for me, my mom battled weight when she got into her 40s. And I remember, this is crazy, but I remember, because my mom was a single mom, so I was the behaved, perfect little kid that could go everywhere. But I remember my mom taking me to therapy, which some of that was great, but she also took me to a hypnotist with her on weight loss.
Wow.
So I was probably, I don't know if I was 6, 8 years old, but I would sit in the little chair in the corner in this little room, nowhere near this big, and I was being hypnotized, not even knowing it.
That's amazing.
Under my mom's weight loss,
That's crazy.
Crazy. And then we would have to go, we would leave there, and then we have to continue the homework assignment together. My mom wanted support. You know, it's when you're trying to lose weight, you know, it's nice to have support. But I was having to recite the tapes with her in the car.
Wow.
And I still remember one of them we had to say over and over again was, I get more filling satisfaction from eating less food and only at meal times. And I was supposed to, you know, the idea is you just say it enough to where you you believe it or you live it. You know? Wow. So anyway, so looking back, and I remember I had an uncle that, you know, when they were kind of tough on siblings and stuff. I remember my mom, you know, having a new dress on, you know, it'd be like holiday, and you know, he'd kind of make a derogatory comment if my mom had put on a few pounds. So I was very aware into her, you know, and I was very conscious of just weight and the appearances. You know, my mom cared a lot about, you know, first impressions, which I do, and I think that's great.
And it's important.
The one blessing I would give my mom credit on this one. She always made the best of what she had, you know. Always had her makeup, you know, clothes, you know, and you're great at that too, you know.
And I learned it from my mom as well.
And I've got some tricks up my sleeve. You know, some people might be surprised even on this topic today, because like when I've kind of like, I'm not in a great place and my weight's up, I either don't go out, or I'm kind of have mastered a little bit of like hiding it, you know what I mean, with fashion, and you're great at fashion, so, you know, draw attention somewhere else, which I think all those things are great, because we're all going to have like good and bad days and phases, and I always say in life, everything's temporary, so it's whatever you got to do to pull yourself through that hump. And
I feel the same way about fashion as you do, as you just said, because as I've gone on this journey, started talking about it with friends and family to start out, you know, not publicly. And then I put some things on Instagram, some feelers to see. And then there were some influencers who came out that really said, you know, I've been on this medication, it's changed my life. And I felt more comfortable talking about it publicly on Instagram or, you know, on social media. But when I start talking to people about this, and you may have the same experience as me, people were saying, you didn't have 70 pounds to lose. And I'm like, I really did though. And then I start telling people, which I'm sure we're going to get into, you know, the weight that I started at, and people are in disbelief. They're like, how on earth were you that many pounds? And I don't want, like, spoiler alert, I was 200 pounds, which every body is different. So people carry weight differently. Some people, you know, it's all about you and how you feel in your body. But for me, I hit the scale. I saw the number 2 at the front of my weight, and it was a really big wake up call for me. And so when I start telling people, you know, I was 200 pounds, they're like, how? Because I hid it with my clothes. I wore oversized things that were in style, and you know, I changed my hair all the time, or like I wear crazy makeup and I always had a fake eyelash, or there was my eyelash extension days, which I hope we never dig up on social media. But there are so many ways people can hide and, you know, be a chameleon.
I learned from doing hair, like if you have a facelift, you change your hair color completely.
Blonde,
and
the blonde
or whatever,
theory.
and then everybody's like, oh, you look different, you know.
It's just the blonde.
Yeah, you know, so little tricks up her sleeve. So you had your first child how many years ago?
Well, when was my wedding? That was 2016. So I had my first child in 2017. Okay. I don't know. Time blurs a little bit. 2017.
Did your journey start before you had children, or it did? So
it did. Yeah. So when I was in high school, I was a competitive dancer. Okay. And so I was dancing sometimes twice a day, which you don't really think of dance as a sport, but it is 100% cardio. And so I'm doing 3 to 4 hours of cardio training a day, and when the day I went and left for college, I weighed 120 pounds. Wow. And I'll never forget that, because I left and I was like, oh, the freshman 15, here we go. So I was tracking it. And I survived my freshman year, and I didn't gain a pound. The day I left my freshman year, I was 100, maybe like 122 pounds. And I was really proud of myself. I was still dancing in college my freshman year. Okay. Just kind of, you know, passively. I wasn't like doing competitive. But my sophomore year is when everything changed for me. So I was 19. My body composition is now changing. You know, hormones are starting to adult hormones are starting to rage into me. And I met my now husband, and I guess they call it fat and happy, because I gained 60 pounds my sophomore year of college. And I went from 120 pounds to 170 pounds, and it felt like overnight to me. And it was one of those things, I just kept waking up in the morning, looking at myself, being like, I don't know who you are. Like, I don't recognize you. And so again, I started changing hair, I started changing, you know, environment, but my body, I couldn't get anything to change.
Speaking of fat and happy, I was fat and happy during COVID. You know, happy hour started earlier and earlier, but you know, I think sometimes there's a time to be fat and happy. I think fat and happy can be okay. You know what I mean? Like if you've had your kid, I had a few years where I was involved in a child's life. And, you know, sometimes you just want to enjoy the moment, of course, and, you know, have the donut or the birthday and just, you know, just be. And fortunately, I think back to my mom presenting, you know, just always putting one foot in front of the other and making the best version of herself. That did allow me to sort of give myself a break every now and then and be fat and happy and be okay with it. And, you know, if I want you know, because I've been on diets over some holidays and wouldn't eat,
Not
you know, but then the next year I'm like, you know,
I want to enjoy myself.
And I think that's okay. I think balance is what we all try to strive for, but that's the hardest part, is how to balance all this. I used to, you know, it's feel like every 5 years, you know, I was like, okay, I'm in this weight now. I remember, I used to remember when I was a teenager, not even a teenager, but after college, my 20s, I remember trying to get 100 to 160 pounds. I was 158 pounds. And I had a trainer, and it was trying the opposite, to bulk up and shakes. And he says, you know, drive the big truck, eat all this food. And, you know, so that was my 20s and 30s. And then it totally shifted. And then I remember getting around real quickly, 200 pounds. I was like, okay, if I don't get over 200 pounds, I can be okay with this. And then it was 220. And then, you know, and then when I saw the 230s pop up a year or so ago, funny story, not funny, but what happened to me, I've never shared this publicly, but it was right after COVID. And, you know, we were just surviving,
Yes, I know.
It was pandemic. But I remember Chris and I were finally going to get out. It was like I don't know if it was a year into COVID, and you could be on a patio somewhere or something. It was like people were just starting to get social again. And I had gained significant weight during COVID, and but I ended up running into some friends. One was an old friend, and I went into the restroom, and I was in a stall, and the guy that I knew was with a friend of his, and they were in the restroom and didn't know I was in the restroom, and they started saying, "Oh my gosh, was that John Grimes? Was that John Grimes?" And and I'm in the stall, and like, okay, what do I do right now? Because I don't know where this is going, but it wasn't in. They weren't being malicious, but they went on to say, "Oh my God, I never would have recognized him." And and granted, they knew me mostly 10 years prior through a really good friend of mine, my friend Mark, and they weren't being malicious, but it was like they just went on, and I was unrecognizable. Then they started talking about how hot and cute Chris was. That was another.
It was like, here's the knife and here's the twist.
And the funny thing, at the time, he was more insecure than I was.
Right.
Which this is just a whole nother thing of like how we are so hard on ourselves because I was out feeling good.
Right. It was your first night
I had
out.
a little mustache. I was like, kind of like.
I remember the mustache. I love it.
But like you were saying, I would try to find something else to bring the eye or do something, and I was kind of like, I felt like I had a hip outfit on, so I was feeling myself. But Chris probably was the one sitting there, very uncomfortable in his skin. But yet, he was the hot, good-looking one, and I was the unrecognizable one. But anyway, those have been little kind of, I don't know if triggering is the word, but you get in your head.
And I think even people who maybe on, I don't know how to phrase this in the right way, but everybody has a different body shape. So whether you're, whatever your body shape is, you deal with this. Everybody thinks of themselves critically. And so I have a similar story, almost identical in a different way, where I had posted something on Instagram and I was in a car with a group of people, and I looked over at my friend who had received a text message, and I could read the text, and it was like, "I can't believe what I just saw on Instagram." And I was like, what did she see on Instagram? Thinking in my head, I know I just posted something on Instagram. And the next text that came in was, "I can't believe how big she has gotten." And so it's a different way. That took me down. Yeah. That was one of the points where I thought in my head, I'm never coming back from this. Like, there's no way. This was probably like 4 or 5 years after I had gained weight. And I really, social media wasn't really as big as it is now back then. So I'm posting like once a quarter, maybe a picture of my dog. And I thought to myself, I guess I'm just going to be the, big girl now. And I never thought I have had multiple therapy sessions about that specific encounter because it took me down. And I still go back to that. Days where I don't feel, good about myself. I'm like, well, here we go again. Whose text am I going to read today? And it just stays with you. Things like that they can be so hurtful, and people don't mean to be hurtful, but just being cognizant, especially if you're in a public place like that. I mean, it's so painful, and it stays with you.
One of my reservations are just things about starting to do this show was, you're opening yourself up to all types of opinions and criticisms, and it's just something. It's a risk, I'm taking, and I usually stay out of politics and and opinions and on things, but just being vulnerable, But to the subject at hand, though, we found like what has been a really good. Do we call it a miracle?
I think legally we're not allowed to for legal reasons. It's just a drug, but for personal, I don't know.
Fat shot. So you started the fat shot before me.
I started the fat shot in April of 2020. What year are we in? 3.
Okay, so this is 24. and I probably started it last fall, maybe around like November or something. And of course, when I get ready to do something, I'm pretty much all in. That's the thing. Like, I'm either fat and happy or not fat and happy. When I get to not fat and happy, like I'm done. Like, I am done. So so you probably you and your mom, you know, I'd been hearing about the and on TV and stuff, you know, so I know I'm jumping all around, but did you watch Oprah's thing on this? Okay, so Oprah did I love Oprah, but she did what was supposed to have been a tell-all about all the things you want to know, and about, you know, everybody on the weight loss shots. And I watched it, and I felt like it was all positive, almost like an endorsement. There were a lot of things that I was apprehensive to start myself because I had clients on it, and I was starting to see like changes in hair and body muscle and a lot of things that still hadn't been really talked about. So I'm hoping we get to some of those today. But did you have success immediately?
No. So this is funny. When I first started this journey, I hadn't heard much about it in the public. In the media, people were talking about it, but it wasn't as, you know, like you open your phone and it's the first thing you see as it is today. So I started thinking about this drug in January of 2023. I had heard, you know, rumblings here and there. I think maybe there was one celebrity who had come out and said, I'm using this drug. And I was like, wow, that's something I want to look at. And so when I first I really just dove headfirst into this big ocean of GLP-1s. But I was very nervous to go to my doctor about this. At the time, didn't trust my doctor. It was just a doctor I had been going to out of habit, and I was too nervous to make a change. But it was really, I was just going to make sure I was not going to die tomorrow, you know. But it was I didn't have care.
My doctor wouldn't give it to me right away. He wanted me to try this Butrin or
I've heard of this.
Buterol.
Yeah.
I've
heard of it so many times.
I'm saying the right thing, but I tried it for a little while. I think I gained weight.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But he said let's try this for a little bit, and then finally I got started. But I got lucky. The first 2 months, I probably lost like 20 pounds pretty quickly. Of course, I don't know if it's different with men and women.
I think that's part of it. So when I first started, I didn't immediately go to my doctor, which is like a big regret that I have with this journey. So I went to a online clinic, I guess you could call it, where you just type in some information, you're automatically approved, and once every month you get a shot box in the mail with like 8 needles and a little vial.
Do it yourself.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I just wish I would have been advised by a doctor before I did any of that, because, you know, I started on semaglutide, and it made me so sick. I was like calling out of work. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep because I was so nauseous. And so finally I just decided to stop it. I decided to change doctors, finally make the leap. I did lose weight, but it's because I was throwing everything I was eating up, not intentionally.
Or not able to eat.
Exactly. I mean, I would get food on the fork and be like, and not get it to my mouth because the thought of what was going to happen next, like I couldn't deal with it. So then I made the leap. I changed doctors. I did my research and found a doctor who was in our area here in Nashville who is extremely pro weight management, is what I'll call it. And he's not a pusher of GLP-1s, but he is an advocate for people who struggle with obesity and giving them options. And a GLP-1 was an option for me, which was amazing. And so we ended up switching my journey to name brand Mounjaro, which I've now been on since September.
And that's what I started on through you telling me about it and sharing the coupon.
I love it.
Because it's expensive. It's a commitment. You know, at my house, there's two of us that wanted to start it. So, you know, if you're talking $1,000, $1,200 a person in the household, that really adds up. Yeah. And I was thankfully able to do it with the coupon. Are we stopping? We're good. I was able to start it with the coupon. And I had, by that point in the, doing hair and seeing clients on their journey, I saw some people get too thin. I saw some people kind of like start to like shrivel up, look a little frail, you know what I mean?
The like jowls here start to come down a little bit
this
more
kinda
than they
comes
usually
down
do.
a little bit. But I was like, maybe I can kind of like take sort of like baby steps into it. And for the longest time, I kind of had in my head that if I sort of like went halfway with it, because you get what goes to 15, is up to 15.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, I stayed like at the 7 or 7.5, whatever it is, thinking, okay, well this way I'm still like kind of having to be disciplined too. Like you will get a little hungrier when it's shot time. Shot time.
Shot day is not a
shot
fun day.
days like the next day or
Yeah.
or 2 days away, and it's the weekend, and you're like, oh, I can kind of eat a little more. I kind of liked that sort of like let me feel like I still had like to be in control. I didn't want to like
too.
not be hungry. I didn't want to be, because that's not a lifestyle. And friends and restaurants.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
a foodie too.
Yeah.
Good cocktails.
That was my biggest fear about this whole thing, was how am I going to navigate the life that I know versus the life that's coming for me? Because in my head, everything was about to change. I was never going to be allowed to eat out again. I'm never going to be allowed to eat this, that again. I'm going to throw up if I eat this or whatever. And that was a lie that I told myself.
We're both very social
Yeah.
creatures. And, we're not home. I'm not home every night cooking a healthy dinner. Last time I saw you was at a opening or something for,
Yeah.
real estate or something,
Exactly.
And, there's appetizers and food everywhere
yeah.
and drinks and,
Oh, yeah.
it's the lifestyle, and I enjoy all that. So I said to myself, well, maybe I don't go whole hog on this, but kind of like try it out and see what happens. And like I said, I lost like the bulk of my weight the first couple 3 months. I think at that point I was only up to a 5. I had really good life, but I was very disciplined. I was ready. I'm all or nothing, So I remember if I went to eat, I would get my little meal for a while at the Mexican restaurant. Believe it or not, we have pretty decent chicken wings at our Mexican
Ooh,
restaurant.
okay. Which Mexican restaurant are you going to? Because that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring up chicken wings.
Okay.
And I've actually heard this a lot. Chicken wings are so easy for me to eat on this medication.
Yeah.
I eat chicken wings all the time. I love chicken wings
Yeah.
to start before I started this medication. But even now, like, it's a great way for you to get protein. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you were like craving. I've been craving chicken wings. on
Yeah,
this
I would do chicken wings, and then I would cheat and get a kid's cheese quesadilla.
Yeah.
And just half it.
Yeah.
With Chris and I. That way you still get a little bit of, the good stuff.
Yes, you have to, again, you have to give yourself what
Yeah.
you need, because if you deprive yourself, that's when you start to like binge again, or you go crazy, or you have a cheat day where your cheat day turns into a cheat week, and then it turns into, I forgot my shot for 3 months.
So what kind of rattled me and made me take the plunge was probably 2 years before this. I was having gallbladder problems, and I had been to the ER one night, and this time I was for certain I was going to have my gallbladder taken out. I had done a lot of these other diets. I'd been on an ideal protein diet, which was kind of like some people I knew were on the what's the other one with the Optavia.
Oh, I've seen
It's like
this
where you eat
before.
the bars and the prepackaged.
Yes.
It's like space. We call it a space food
Yeah.
diet. So I had lost weight on that a bunch, but on those diets, like there's no sugar allowed, and I would go 3-4 months, getting ready for summer, and I would lose that same, 20, 25, then it became 30 pounds and 35 pounds, but I would be real disciplined. I would have good luck, but then eventually it was so like you weren't allowed to have anything. And then when I came off of it, I would go completely, want to live life again. And that's when I started having the gallbladder problems, because my body would reset to, very little carbs, no fats,
Right.
no alcohol. And then
it
I would
just
go on
comes back.
vacation and think I'm going to die on vacation. Like, and when I was exploring like what causes like gallbladder disease or gallbladder problems, one of the things I remember reading was it was the yo-yoing, it was the drastic losing weight really fast, and it's like your body gets used to what it knows, and then when you take it all out, like it doesn't know, or it does, you do
It's
a
like
180.
your body's almost going into shock.
And with the Manjaro, for me, and you can have a little bit of every, you can still eat the same stuff. You're just not eating as much. So I had learned the hard way that the all or nothing was not working with my gallbladder. So I saved my gallbladder. Didn't have to have it removed. But while exploring that, I found out I had fatty liver disease, which a lot of people have it, don't know it. I ended up getting an ultrasound. I was not pregnant.
It's a girl.
Even though I thought it was twins. No, but it was in the.
How did you find that out? Like, what was that journey? Like, did you go in with pain thinking it was your girl? Like, how did they discover that?
I just knew I had all this inflammation. I was having these gallbladder attacks that were like keep me up at night. I would be just so much inflammation and pain, and I had tried food mapping. I tried eliminating the fats, eliminating the alcohol, the sugar. One thing at a time, and I just couldn't really find a rhyme or reason with it. Except it seemed to be the worst when I was eating really poorly, and especially if I'd come off of like a health kick and then if it came off of it, it seemed like that's when it just really started messing me up. But what I wanted to share first of all, so I found out I had the fatty liver, which doctor told me there are people that are over 500 pounds that do not have a fatty liver. So fatty liver disease is not always associated with obesity. I mean, it's common with it, but a little fact, my uncle Mark, which he passed away at 39, cirrhosis of the liver. And my dad had two brothers, and there was a few years there where I favored my Uncle Mark. A lot of people would tell me, so like in my mind I'm thinking, oh gosh, genetically, like, I have more of his same genes. He passed away at 39, cirrhosis of the liver. Now I'm like getting diagnosed with, I'm like early 40s, find out I have the same, basically the same thing.
That's crazy.
So I'm like, is this genetic? Is this from drinking? I'm not an alcoholic. I have a couple drinks out. Don't want a hangover. Not worth it. But I'm like, how is it? What is causing that? So I had been on a couple diets, like the Ideal Protein and some of those. I had lost significant weight, say 25 pounds. My liver, I'd go to the doctor, and my liver still red flag, my numbers, that was still, everything was elevated, and I still had this liver disease. And these diets didn't allow any alcohol. So I went cold turkey, no alcohol, and lost the weight, got the weight down, but I still had the fatty liver disease. I'll tell you, on the Manjaro, I think you're going to have something to share similar. But after that first, 3 or 4 months, the next time I had my blood work done, I had no trace of liver disease.
That's amazing.
And I thought, this is too good to be true. And I had a physical this summer, which was like another 8 months later, now a year post,
That's so
and it
awesome.
has stayed that way. And this time I've had the foods that I like. I still have a couple old fashions one night, or a glass of wine the next, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's been with moderation, but that was kind of mind blowing to me, because I was starting to wig me out, like having it be hereditary or whatever it was. Like, I was like, gosh, am I the rest of my life not going to be able to like go on vacation, have a margarita or a burrito, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me about, have you had some
I have
positive gains?
I didn't have fatty liver disease, but honestly, I was expecting to have fatty liver disease when I went in, just based off the level of, I was so unhealthy. I had completely given up and was eating everything and anything, but was telling myself a lie in my head that I didn't really eat that bad. When I would have a Big Mac for lunch and a large fry and a large Coke, I mean, I'm like, yeah, I only had a Big Mac for lunch. Oh, I only had a...
good right now. I haven't had
no,
lunch.
Literally, I know. I'm like, it's shot day
Yeah,
tomorrow,
I know.
so I'm really hungry. But no, so I went in to the doctor. I brought the receipts,
Okay.
like physical
All right.
receipts. And I went into my doctor
Show
for
me
my
Miss
physical.
Kardashian. Show me the receipt.
Like, seriously, this is crazy. So last year was my first year with my new doctor, like I was telling you, and he did a full head to toe workup. And he was showing me this year my comparisons from last year, and I have everything has completely changed. So I'll bore you, I'll save you from boredom with all of this stuff, but when we're looking at the body composition portion of this physical that I had, I think that's the most important part to talk about, especially talking about this. You brought this up earlier, and I'm going to get to it in a second, but muscle. Okay. So I don't understand. I don't know if I genuinely believe in it, but when he told me all this good news, I believed it because it's like, you obviously want to believe it when it's good. But they had this little machine where you have to hold on to this, like a handlebar while you're standing on a scale, and you have to like hold tension on this bar, and it somehow magically measures your body fat. Last year I was at, let's see, where was I? Last year I was at 84.7%. 1 year to the date on Manjaro, I'm at 52.9%.
Oh, what's that
and this is
percent?
body fat mass. Yeah. So here's the muscle part that I was going to tell you about.
Okay.
So last year, my initial reading, I was at 24.9% in muscle mass.
Okay.
This year I was 24.5%, so I haven't lost,
So you haven't lost muscle.
tiny bit of muscle mass.
Have you worked out or anything?
So I've increased activity. I don't want to say I'm strength training. I don't want to say I'm like hitting the gym every day, like lifting. I'm not doing that. I'm fitting Pilates in when I can. I love Pilates. Reformer machine is my favorite thing. So I'm fitting that in when I can. I'm being more active. I'm not sitting at a desk job anymore. I'm a realtor. You understand what it's like, the life of a realtor. You're up, you're going, you're in and out of house showings, you're up and down stairs all day long. So that in itself has gotten me more active.
I've made a point to introduce extra protein.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Because I feel like I'm not a doctor.
No, neither am I.
This is just stuff I hear. But you were talking about the more like the semaglutide, where you give yourself the shot and you do all that when you don't have an appetite or you can't eat. Like I had watched, and I still have friends that get nauseous. I think, I don't know what they're on, but that was my fear of like not eating. So like, and also why I stayed in the lower dose range, because I still knew it was important to get the protein in. Now I'm feeling like I need to get in the gym and get some muscle back on because, and that was one of the things, like I took a break in the spring, kind of because I was happy with my weight, and but I was still on the shot, low dose, working out, and I just wasn't getting that pump like I used to get with the trainer or whatever, and I was doing a similar vigorous workout, and I just saw that I wasn't, it just felt different. So I don't know what to call that, but something you have to just be mindful of, I think, is getting that protein in to keep your body muscle. And I think it's important for just heart and all that stuff to, work out.
I have a problem with protein because I'm not like a huge meat eater. I don't love to sit down at night and just eat a steak. I don't eat red meat. So getting like those critical nutrients that you need from, that kind of protein is hard for me. I don't eat enough to get it from just meat. So I've been having to supplement with protein shakes and drinks. And I also really struggle with that because I hate the taste of a protein shake. When you go and you get like a Premier, like everybody loves Premier Protein, I can't even get it to my mouth because I can't stand the taste of it. So I've had to get creative with how I get protein. And so I found these
peanut
Core
butter
Life.
balls.
Yeah, no, literally stuff like that. I have to go make a smoothie
Those are really
and put
good,
fruit.
though.
They are really good. And you know who has a really good, it's like an almond butter protein bowl kind of thing is at Costco.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're really
wow.
good. Check it out.
Huh.
But I started having to think about how I was getting protein and counting it. And this is crazy. This is like a unnecessary life hack for you. I got the Ninja Creamy machine. Have you seen this? It's an it's Ninja brand.
Okay.
Like the blenders. It's an ice cream maker. And you freeze liquid.
I was thinking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, no. Ninja, like the air fryer Ninja.
See, I'm not that fancy, but...
But no, seriously, it's the best thing ever. So you freeze the liquid, you make up like whatever kind of ice cream you want, and then you just stick it in this contraption, and it makes perfect ice cream every time.
So you're making
I'm making protein ice cream. So I'm taking the
that's
Core
neat.
Life protein shakes, freezing them with like cocoa powder.
Did you make your own baby food too?
No. My kids got Gerbers. But now I'm making my own protein ice cream for myself. But my kids love it too, and it's a great way to get protein.
So something I did notice early on when I don't think I was eating enough, my hair did go through this stage of feeling like, I call it frog hair.
I wanted to ask you about this.
Because I remember Dolly and Tammy Wynette would talk about they both had frog hair. Whatever frog hair is, because I don't know that frogs have hair.
Yeah, maybe that's why they call it frog
But
hair.
I call it I had frog hair. And it was kind of like where you run your fingers through your hair and it kind of feels like you walk through a cobweb, like through a spider web. That's what I call frog hair.
Not me doing it
And
right
yours
now.
looks
I'm
great.
testing it.
You're lucky because you have such great hair.
Yeah.
But, me, I don't have the hair that I used to have. That's another thing. But that was a little scary to me because I saw women coming in, but they were not eating hardly, a lot of them. And or I say that, I don't think they were eating a lot. But I saw like a trend of like this, like people asking about their hair, starting supplements, Nutrafol, different things. I don't know that I saw anything that was like a game changer overnight with the hair. I think as people sort of just kind of got balanced and that happened with me, like once I started eating a little more and maybe it was just a phase. I think, when you go through surgeries, weight, or even if with weight loss, bariatric surgery, but even just like being under anesthesia.
Oh yeah, it affects me big time.
It affects people's hair. I see that all the time. Stress affects people's hair, diet. If someone is malnourished, I've seen, so I don't know that I can say these drugs cause the hair change, but I think it's just, it's your body's going through a change, and your skin and your hair, usually show what's happening. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But I found that interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't really have. Well, first of all, my head of hair better than anyone probably, but I have so much hair that it would be hard for me to tell
notice.
how much hair I was losing,
Yeah.
because on a regular day, I could make a wig with the hair that
and probably
I
a
lose.
little less hair is more manageable for
Well,
someone
honestly,
like you.
yeah, I was happy with where I was at because I was able to do it myself. But I felt like
Don't rub that in because people are already going to watch. Some people are
Here.
going to watch this and be like, "What are y'all talking about?"
no, I'm literally throwing it to you. But it was great. And what I did notice was not a loss, because I don't know if I could track a loss in hair just because I already lose so much hair as it is. But a change of texture. And so I did notice what I think is that froggy feeling where it feels like the cobwebs. I noticed that. I got a few treatments and everything was fine. I think there was so much going on at the time. Again, as I was losing weight, I was still trying to do the chameleon thing.
Yeah.
So big hair changes, big chops, bob, like seriously berries and cream guy bob going on, and then letting that grow back out and become healthy again. It was just kind of a disaster. So I can't also
Did you have any negative side effects that people would, because I want to be real honest with, my experience. Anything that you go have any like little?
I have, and it's not every single, and I want to say this is my personal experience with this, and I have talked to now hundreds of people who have been taking this medication, who have had, every single person has had a completely different experience on this medicine. Overwhelmingly positive, but there are some people who just can't take it because it does make them sick. So I do want to say, if you are taking this medication and you're feeling sick and you feel like it's not right, you need to talk to your doctor because they can help you with it. For me, when I took the semaglutide, I told you I was so sick I couldn't even see straight. I talked to my doctor, we changed the Manjaro. The minute I changed to Manjaro, my first injection, I felt like a new human. I literally, and I was like, this is what people are talking about. This is why people love this medication. I was a little sick, a little bit, just to the point you've had the feeling probably where you're just like, ooh, I can't eat today.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I didn't really have that.
Yeah.
I got chilly. Like I would have a little. I remember I never was a cold person. I don't know if it was last winter. I'd want to be like under a blanket.
Oh, okay. Literally same. And that was happening to me this morning. And it's been happening to me since. I did not even think about that.
Maybe it's the weather change.
Is that like a side effect?
But I know that was a thing. Like, you know, you're just kind of going, and I'm like, maybe I just don't have all that fat and that meat on my bones.
Crazy.
I'm just, you know what I mean?
No,
Really?
today I was literally in my house shivering before. And that's why I put this big old blazer on because I was freezing at my house.
You just wanted to look so
I know. I just needed to like do a winter white.
Yes. No. But yeah, that was a thing.
That's crazy.
One night I went to my friend's 50th birthday on a Friday night, and I had not been having sugar at all and very limited drinking. And Chris was playing. They had like a casino night, so he was all, you know. So they handed out a big piece of cake, and I'm thinking, you know, Chris and I can split a piece of cake. I ate the whole piece of cake. And then I don't know what I was drinking that night because it was something pre-mixed, you know what I mean? So it probably had a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah.
And the following night I had a Halloween party, so it was kind of like more of the same, you know? Like, and I remember the start of the party, I was just dripping sweat.
The sweating is a big one.
But I was like having like, I ended up putting myself to bed with like shivering. I could have had a bug coming. One of my friends, she's a diabetic, and she spoke about like when your sugar drops or somehow gets out of whack. I think again that I did something I had not been doing, and I don't know if my body just didn't know how to do it, and it may not even been related, but I feel like I've heard a few people have an experience kind of like that. But like I said, that was just one time, and then Julie just being chilly, but I don't have that anymore. I am trying to figure out now to maintain. Like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Because I've asked my doctor, I've asked my clients, and they're like, well, you know, my doctor says, you know, just still do a shot every week, but less of a shot. You know, I have other people that are saying they're just staying on the same shot, but going, you know, 2 weeks, you know, skipping a week in between a shot. Some people take a break from it. That didn't work for me. I took a break for like a month. I gained 7 pounds this spring.
Yeah, I also had a break where I gained 7 pounds.
Okay, so and it's so new, and it's different for everybody that I don't know. There's
I'm kind of freaked out at like how similar our stories are, but
really
keep going.
Yeah. So my doctor hasn't really been black and white about what the maintenance looks like. Have you heard any from anybody? Like, what do you think works the best?
I just had this conversation with my doctor, and
curious.
He said the word maintenance, and I was like, no, I'm not ready for maintenance yet. I don't personally feel ready in my brain or my body for maintenance at this 10 seconds. I'm not actively trying to lose any more weight, so I guess I'm technically in a maintenance era. But I don't want to put that label on it just yet because I don't. There's so much work that has to be done in my head now because the body has gotten there, and now I want to get my mind right. And I've made so many changes. You said this too earlier, like you're not going to sit in and cook healthy meal every single night, but like a lot of nights you might, you know, you're not going to have a cocktail every single night, but a few nights you might have a cocktail.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to that point where the medication is helping me do that, but I want to get to the point where I'm helping myself do that, where I don't need to rely on the medication yet. So my next step in my, I guess we can call it maintenance journey, is more of a mental aspect of it, where I have an absolutely incredible therapist who has completely changed my life. And that's kind of like where I see myself going in the next few months is taking a journey in therapy, just talking about like habits and kind of how I got to where I am and triggers. Like we talked about
yourself.
Exactly, like those trigger moments where, you know, when I don't feel good about myself, I immediately go back to that text message that I saw my friend have on her phone. So like how I can move past that, because I just don't emotionally feel ready to go off the medication yet. I feel like I took this break, just like you said, I took it in the summer. It was an accidental break because I went on a trip and I forgot my shot. I was having a really fun vacation, and so I wasn't upset about leaving my shot because I actually, again, like we said, got to enjoy this vacation. where we ate really good food and we drank a ton of beer. And, you know, I don't drink. I stopped drinking on this medication. That's another point I meant to say earlier, but I did stop drinking on this medication. And so when I did have the alcohol this summer, I can definitely tell a change in my body. Like you said, that up and down, the blood sugar going up and then dropping, and that shock that your body receives after not doing something for so long, I felt that. So I just don't think I'm there yet. I think, yeah.
To that, I wanted to, something I forgot about. I think hydration is so important.
Oh my gosh.
So important. Because this summer when we were having like 100-degree days, I had a couple that I was like really dizzy, and my eyelids were puffy, but I was dizzy. And one day I was like, I just need to calm down. It was actually the day before my birthday. It was a Saturday. I thought, I'm just gonna go like to the market, pick out some flowers, you know, do my little happy thing, you know, and because I was feeling like anxious, and but then I was dizzy, and I remember texting Chrissy, and I'm driving, but I don't know if I should be driving.
Yeah, like I think I should pull over.
I ended up stopping at Publix, had to go there anyway, checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure was low, and I've never had low blood pressure. Again, I'm just throwing it all out there because I don't know that anybody's talked about like all these little things, and it's different for everybody, and it could have been unrelated. But I had a week where I was kind of like, I think I was dehydrated. I even had a little I had a rash, which
so crazy.
Could have been like a heat rash. Because I was working in the yard, but I still think hydration is so important. Because you're taking medication, your kidneys need to flush and work all that, and when you're sweating a lot, so just be mindful. Like these are just things to be aware of. Again, I don't know, neither here nor there, what caused it, but I've had like 2 rounds of feeling like dehydrated a little bit, because I'm bad about drinking water sometimes, or I have coffee in the morning, and then I have my Pepsi Zero that I have to have that to start my day.
Me too.
Didn't even get to, but we've talked an hour on it, pretty good. And but you know, I'm happy to take an email, or if somebody wants to reach out through Instagram.
Yeah, you can reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Parker, PARKER, WB as in boy, OHN as in Nancy. You can also email John, and he can connect us too if you feel more comfortable doing that.
My Instagram, I have John Grimes Hair Instagram handle, and also have the Johnny Wood podcast. So either one of those, if you have a question. I have a great doctor if you're in Nashville. We're just here to help and shed light and show some different. I may even have some other people on that have had a different experience.
Yeah, I think it's important to hear every side of the story. And if we can just help someone, like John came to me and said he was really nervous about sharing his experience. So if we can just help lift that fear of talking to someone.
Taking the wig off.
Take it off.
Because I do feel like now,
throw it in that pool that's back there that you can't see.
Well, that's what we're here for, just like lighten the load. So thanks for watching today. Thank you, Parker, for being on.
Thank you for having me.
And
I'm so proud of you.
All right, now, talk is cheap and time's expensive. Thanks for tuning in, and please subscribe. Have a good one.